Alexander Mahan, better known as Yandere Dev, is the lead game developer behind Yandere Simulator, a Hitman-esque style video game where you play as a teenage girl obsessed with a boy in school willing to do whatever it takes to thwart other girls from getting to him. While the game in its development is ripe with history that could very well be its own topic entirely, today we'll be going over the more recent developments, except instead of it being about the game, it's about our friend Alex here and what he likes to do in his pastime. Shout out to the Patreon members as always, and if you'd like to support the channel yourself, you can do so by checking out the link below or in the corner. With that being said, let's not waste any time anymore and get right into everything. On September 19th, someone named Ali would make a post on Twitter talking about a massive project that she was working on at the moment, and the very next day she would reveal on Twitter and Discord that this project was related to Alex, and that he had apparently been talking some type of way to a 16-year-old girl, saying that she has a 3-hour video being produced to help get everybody up to speed and that should be out soon. Mind you, Alex was born on June 10th, 1988, meaning that he was 35 years old during all this, making these allegations against the man very serious as he's old enough to be her legal father. The news would continue to spread around as on September 20th, TikTok user SocksIRL will upload a video saying they got permission from the 16-year-old to talk about him publicly before getting into it. The clip in question is mostly just telling people to really watch the video when it drops, before dropping a couple audio clips to prove there's no lying going on here.
Call it like...
When you turn 18, are you gonna start an OnlyFans?
You find other girls for me.
No.
Okay.
Wouldn't it make me a bad guy if I did? The ratio of the bust compared to... Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're very skinny and that's kind of hot.
There's nothing I could really say about that.
Mother Nature sexualizes minors.
That voice is Alex, so when people saw there was actual hard proof going on here and not the typical TikTok clout chasing, things went from interesting to concerning as those audio clips were pretty creepy to listen to. Ali would acknowledge this TikTok video when quote tweeting her own message, and so suddenly a lot of people were waiting in anticipation for the 3-hour expose that she was working on. Cameron F305, someone best known for working on the Yandere Simulator official soundtrack and is close friends with Alex himself, would start to make posts on TikTok saying to report the videos of people spreading the news around, then reply to people saying he isn't trying to mass report them himself when people recognized him. He would say that it was illegal for the 16-year-old girl to record her conversation with Alex and that she could get sued, and would then reply to someone saying she told him she was 18 years old. He would continue to perpetuate this when discussing the topic in the comments with people on the site, before going on to shut his mouth and wait for an official response from Alex himself. What's interesting to note is that Cameron didn't outright deny Alex ever spoke to her, only saying she was 18 instead, meaning by this point before commenting he was already well aware of the situation before going on to TikTok. SocksIRL would also say on Reddit that Alex allegedly threatened legal action against the 16-year-old, but given this was strictly hearsay and nothing more, it was to be taken with a grain of salt. Where things get weird is that the victim herself would come out with a message on the Osana subreddit telling people to drop the situation entirely, saying that she was the one who seeked him out and she recorded the call illegally, clarifying that he wasn't threatening anything legal against her after all. And would go on to say that the 19-year age gap is kinda fucked and that she started to leave the Discord servers of those who were spreading the information around, ending things off saying she was the only one who did anything illegal and that all he did was participate in bad behavior in her opinion. SocksIRL would clarify that the videos were posted only because Anne gave them permission and reminded her that Alex had talked to underage people before, but said that they would take down all their posts to respect the victim's wishes. This would cause a massive uproar as people wanted to expose Alex, but given Anne specifically didn't want to make this a scene, they started to argue about it on the Reddit page saying that they didn't want him to get away with it, with some others reminding Anne that people have already screen recorded plenty of the evidence and that it was too late to close the floodgates. Some people will start to say that they shouldn't have tried to hype up a video in the first place, with SocksIRL saying that most of the proof was audio and that they have to figure out how they want to approach the situation now. Others would ask Anne to think a bit about Alex and his intentions beyond him just being a loser. And others would straight up say that she doesn't even respect herself and assume that Alex is silencing her from talking about the information some more online. Ali will make a post herself, saying that she believes Alex is manipulating Anne and that she apparently knows he's harassing and threatening her behind the scenes without elaborating upon it, saying that her posts feel like it was written by Alex himself. Anne would say she believes this is part of a smear campaign against the man and that he didn't do anything abusive to her, and SocksIRL will chime in and try to convince her otherwise as the trio talked amongst each other. Ali would go on to clarify the video will still be dropping soon. She was just working around the new stipulations and trying to figure out what she can and cannot add in the final product. In another update similar to the last one we just saw, someone would respond saying that he believes Alex is guilt-tripping Anne with his own life behind the scenes, with Ali implying that he was indeed doing that when listening to one of the last recordings. More speculation on Alex's intentions would be talked about by a random user. Ali would respond saying that things seemed fine up until the news dropped and Anne started getting really defensive. And then in another reply, she would say that she told her to lie for him on audio and people would have to wait for that to drop in the video. Anne would have her post removed off the Osana subreddit and her account suspended due to spam reports from random users. So another person would post a message on her behalf in the Yandere Simulator subreddit, giving people a lot more detail, like how he would say "on jaw" in conversations, and she found it funny, so that's why she started recording. She would go on to say that she wasn't trying to bait him into saying anything weird at all when they talked, and would record silly answers and show her friends. But they would hear some of them and start to say that they should expose him because he was saying some really suspect stuff to her, which in turn got her in contact with Ally. Bug, which is Socks IRL under a different online name, in specific would post the TikTok videos, and Anne felt the audio recordings were being twisted and posted out of context, so she decided she wanted to drop the situation entirely because she illegally recorded the audio calls. But Ally didn't want anything to do with that, and according to Anne was manipulating her into thinking she was a grooming victim when she feels she's not. Anne would say this is starting to bleed into her real life as people recognized her voice in the audio calls at her school, that they keep deleting her messages outside the subreddit, drop a handful of screenshots of her and Ally speaking to each other, and that she doesn't believe Alex was doing anything bad to her during their entire time speaking together. She would also update people under her online moniker Jelly, basically saying that she's been blocked by the creators in the threads on the Osana subreddit and that her so-called friends are trying to silence her now. Those leaked DMs will first show Ally trying to comfort Anne, saying that she should take a break from the internet when the video drops and that Alex can't do anything to hurt her and is being manipulative, but Anne says that she doesn't want the video to be uploaded still. Ally would continue to try and convince Anne to give her permission to drop the video through a multitude of messages, but Anne would still stand her ground and say no, and even later on would again say that she doesn't want it to be public because it's stressing her out as Ally continued to try and get permission. Ally would still try and convince Anne later on to let her drop the video, and would again reply saying that she doesn't want that to happen, with the last message basically implying that Ally is still gonna follow through with uploading the video despite Anne telling her not to. Ally would respond saying that Alex was still pulling the strings and that Anne was trying to protect him, again saying that he was getting her to lie for him in the last recorded call they had together. Cameron would respond saying that he's glad she had a voice in the subreddit and supports the freedom to say whatever she wants and not get shut down for it, and Anne would continue to try and convince the Osana subreddit to drop the situation because she's uncomfortable with it to no avail. In a TikTok video reposted by Ally on Twitter, the user would drop a DM that was supposedly Alex telling Anne he was going to delete Snapchat and tell her to lie and say it was an AI voice software that said everything and not him, and also to not release the video as well. Cameron would also clarify in Reddit that he thought Anne originally said she was 18 and that's why he kept posting that around on the internet before deleting them after realizing he was wrong. Anne would join a random Discord server and start to talk about this situation with the users, saying that Alex wasn't grooming her when they spoke and she would clip his voice or Discord soundboard stuff before her friends started to tell her he was predatory. She would admit the allegations are true but that they're being taken out of context to smear Alex, again say that he didn't do anything to her when speaking together, say she told him her real age is 16 and not 18 like the rumors that had been floating around, and go on to say he was only giving her basic compliments when calling her cute and stuff over the mic. She would clarify again that she recorded the calls for funny soundboard clips, and that when he found out she apologized to him and deleted them, say that he's just a silly guy to the users, and then say she's had a crush on him since she was 9 and that he wouldn't need to groom her even if he wanted to, as the users realized how strange the story was starting to get. Anne would also say that Cameron said not to talk to the people in that server, admit that she's still talking casually to Alex during this entire drama, indirectly confirm that there was indeed a lawsuit by him to her but that's off the table now, and then say that he thought she was 18 until she told him she was 16 on Snapchat. She would confirm that they had been talking for about 4 months now, that Alex originally told Cameron she was 18 before he found out she was 16 later, hence his confusion, and say that the post above her is true but that she's not being coerced in any way at all. She would again say she shared the convos with Ally because a friend told her to go to her, and that she threw all the evidence her way but didn't remember the purpose because she was high, say the video was in production for about 2 months now, and the only reason she got cold feet was because she caught feelings for him and tried to get the video pulled but failed, ending things off saying someone was trying to get her to drop personal stuff about him in their DMs. Around this time, Alex would also update his Discord bio to state the following in the About Me section, but it was far too late as the news has spread around like wildfire while people waited for Ally's video to drop. On September 24th, Ally would drop the video, a 40-minute expose going over the plethora of recorded calls and other evidence she was able to get. There are a multitude of video clips throughout, with them ranging from weird to really concerning, such as Alex calling Anne cute despite him being 35 and her being 16.
You should turn your hair.
Oh, you'll see how old I am.
Okay, look at you.
You're cute. Oh, you're sweet.
I have a question for you.
What's your question?
I want you to like call off guard or anything.
Go ahead.
You talk to other girls, man.
No.
Okay.
Wouldn't it make me a bad guy if I did?
It would make me an upset person if you did.
You'd be upset?
And then it's just like not like in a serious way, just like, you know. Oh.
Am I a bad guy for talking to you? Should I stop talking to you?
No, you should stop talking. Well, I mean, like, you should, but please don't. Just, like, pause. I like your company.
Oh, you're so sweet.
You think you can call like this more often?
Maybe. I had fun. You're funny. It's fun to listen to talk. I want to learn what regular you is like.
Okay.
But high you is very cute and fun. Man, you're so cute.
I keep saying that.
It's because you keep being cute. If you don't want to be called cute, then stop being so cute. It's simple logic.
It gets worse though, as more intimate topics would come up, like a certain male body part and how when the girl brought up OnlyFans, instead of him steering the conversation elsewhere, he would go along with it despite her being underage.
In the US is like 5.5.
Wow. Okay.
I don't know. I don't know how to respond like that. I don't know what to say about it. Why can't you start OnlyFans?
Okay, let's just hypothetically imagine I have an OnlyFans. Now, what do I post on the OnlyFans? You mean like just naked pictures of me? I don't think I'm good looking enough for anyone to want to subscribe to my OnlyFans.
Like,
when you turn 18, are you gonna start an OnlyFans?
God, no.
Well, how can you recommend that someone else do it if you wouldn't even be able to do it yourself?
That conversation would keep going, in which he starts to talk about his interest in women's chests. And while the conversation itself would sound normal were it between two adults, this is between an adult and a teenager, and it comes off as really creepy listening to it knowing the context.
Big as a girl's head. I want him big as a girl's head.
I have what are considered, these are A cups, isn't that crazy?
Because you're so skinny?
Yep.
So it's like the ratio of the bust compared to, yeah, okay. Yeah, you're very skinny and that's kind of hot. Sorry, am I a bad guy for saying that? Should I go die?
No.
Am I a bad guy?
And I can see where they got the idea from, but with context, it's not.
Yep, that's my life right there.
It was pretty obvious that Ann was definitely in his defense by that last statement, but again, Alex should know not to have these kinds of conversations with a 16-year-old, and it would just keep on going from there.
Here's a question for you. What makes you think it's possible that I'm a virgin?
No, ask me that and I gave an answer. What was it?
You're like, maybe you were shy in college and you haven't had any time to meet people because of Yandere Sim.
Yeah, exactly.
If I'm a virgin, does that make me a pathetic loser?
Like, I'm half hoping you are, half hoping you're not. Because, like, if you're not, then, like, good for you, you had sex. But if you are, like,
You want to steal my first time? Well, I'm not very experienced with ladies.
I can tell.
They would then talk about the game and how he's been developing it for almost a decade now, and then get into the ages of the characters themselves, in which Alex says this.
But all the students are 18.
Oh, that's weird. I feel like high school age makes more sense.
It would make more sense, but then everyone would complain, oh my god, the characters are under 18, so I have to contrive a story that makes them over 18. Or 18.
The final big piece of evidence in the audio call is perhaps the most damning, as this is what Alex has to say about underage people.
Mother Nature sexualizes minors. Puberty starts to give breasts and wide hips to children before they turn 18. It's not like, a person does it to a child. The child's own body does it to themselves. It's not like an adult can go to a child and cast a magic spell that gives them breasts. Haha, I've sexualized you. I gave you breasts. And the child is like, no. No, the child just does it. The child's body does it automatically. A child gradually becomes an adult over time because of puberty. Ann
would allege that Alex was threatening to sue her in some leaked Discord DMs, and then some more Snapchat DMs would be leaked. Like this one, for example, the two of them talking about what is technically considered grooming, with the implications behind the reason of the conversation to exist in the first place being pretty obvious. The next would be of the girl offering to send risque images of herself to him, and instead of shutting down the conversation, Alex would continue to show his interest despite her even warning him that what she might do would be illegal if he went through with it. They would continue on with the conversation about the legalities and whatnot. Alex would mention his mathematical equation on whether it was legal or not, with a very big problem that I'm sure you guys can figure out judging by that 17-year-old and 94.4% statement. Alex would actually admit during this conversation that what he doing was illegal, as Anne would try and convince him that nothing was wrong going on between the two of them, with Anne really trying to convince him that everything will be fine and there was no way for people to trace things back to him if they kept it up. He would then say that he has no time to fly out since he spends all his time developing the video game for people, saying he can only use pictures at most, with Anne saying she'll help him out much to his excitement, again warning him that what they might do would be very illegal, with him cracking jokes and changing up the chat settings before the conversation ends. Alex would say in another convo she talked him out of it before she promised to send him something, and that promise would be kept as she would send 2 photos of her abs to him, with him replying as such. Alex would find out about the video being made, and so they would talk between each other despite him not being in the mood, as this could ruin his life and career. Anne would talk about how she felt that way too, but he shouldn't have been talking to her because she was 16 years old and that was wrong. And he would start to crack and say the one time he got attached to a girl, she just happened to be underage, and go on to say he's not a vile person but just very lonely who couldn't control himself. Anne would remind him that this is still not okay to do and ask him to apologize the way he did to her publicly, as everyone knows of the upcoming video. Also mentioning the entire situation is making her panicked. Alex would reply saying he's feeling some type of way for obvious reasons, with Anne saying that she wants a VC to talk it out, only for him to say that's off the table as he learned his lesson by now. She would mention that she could be recording the text of him right now while doing so. Alex would say he hasn't said anything incriminating in this conversation other than regret for what he did, and she would say she felt she was exposing a boyfriend that happened to be a fully grown man. Alex would beg for mercy and plead with her not to ruin his life, with Anne showing a little bit of hesitation as he would continue to try and convince her to just drop it all. He would say she was the only person in the world who could save him and tell her not to bring harm into his life to entertain internet people, with Anne naming another situation that happened and claiming that he needs to be held accountable for his actions, as he starts to say she was emotionally abusing him and causing trauma in his life. She would mention the age gaps once more and admit that she does feel bad for what's going on, but she has to think about it for a second before making any rash decisions, before he again tries to guilt trip her into feeling bad for him as they go back and forth with each other for a bit. Alex would say that he was just a vulnerable man who flirted back with the girl and say he wasn't a predator, and Anne would eventually give in and say that he was right and she needs to talk to Sox IRL and Ally to try and make things right between the two of them, much to his relief. He would then start to coach her into helping her figure out what to say to them to get them to drop the case. Anne would say they wouldn't budge, and he would use the narrative that since it's her recording, she should have the final say in what goes or not. They would start to discuss whether this specific situation was considered grooming or not, as Anne would call him a manipulative individual, only for Alex to once again try to set things straight with her and explain in no way is he like that at all, and then states how he tries to avoid the typical ways they would try to contact a minor, with her agreeing with him. Alex would continue on for a bit with the message he was trying to get across, and Anne would say that she's trying to rectify the situation and is sorry for stressing him out, with him saying that he appreciated her effort for trying to prevent the video and that as long as she keeps it up, things will be okay in the end. Anne would then say that she got out of hand and that she was going to sleep soon, telling him I love you as she heads off to bed. The rest of the video would be Ally giving her opinions on the matter while explaining the delay and her involvement in the production of the video. Alex would actually respond to someone in Discord DMs when the video dropped, going over how they met and that he didn't care she was 16 because he only judges people based on if they're nice to him and not by their age, saying that the OnlyFans question was just that, a question, and that he had no ill intentions when asking, even saying sometimes he wouldn't even be paying full attention to the conversations, instead going on autopilot not even thinking about what he's saying. He would then say that Anne would fish for compliments and that he would give them to her as he felt more comfortable with their dynamic, and instead of shutting down any conversations that an adult would get in trouble with, he would instead keep them moving because he was afraid of rejecting her advances, trying to say that with this context it shouldn't sound as bad anymore. He explains how she would record him because he said funny stuff and the whole reason why the evidence ended up in the hands of Ally like we've gone over already. Going over how Ally still planned to make the video despite convincing Anne to try to get her to stop. Talk some more about how he tends to act in the opposite way that people expect him to in order to disprove his critics. And continue on with that as he ends things off to the user saying that he's just a socially awkward guy who had no ill intentions when talking with Anne. His Discord bio would also go back to normal around this time as well for any of y'all interested. Ally would end up getting her video copyright struck by Anne. However, she would allege that it was Alex using her name to try and mask it so people don't suspect him, and she would elaborate upon this belief saying that Anne told her she didn't do anything alongside preparing to fight this legally if push came to shove. Sox IRL will corroborate this information with their post on the site. And the news would hit the game development itself as 4 voice actors for Yandere Simulator would drop out of the project after being made aware of the situation, meaning things are starting to affect Alex beyond just his personal reputation. Alex would make an official response on his Yandere Simulator blog on September 25th, in which he would admit to everything and start to tell his side of things like how he met Anne and started to treat her like any normal friend despite knowing she was 16. And similar to the Discord DMs, would go on to explain how things started to grow when Anne started to record their calls and show her friends. He would go on to say that he felt disgusted and disappointed with himself when listening to him speak on those Discord calls, say that it was foolish of him to ever even try to make friends with the teenager in the first place, copy and paste some more of the leaked Discord DMs we saw earlier, and admit to the readers that there's no excuse for what he did and that he is straight up fucked up. He would go on to talk about how the former volunteers of the game started to get harassed, so they dropped out of the project because of that and the obvious reasons, say that it would impact development of the game for the future, and go on to post Anne's Reddit post to show her side of things for people to read. He would end things off profusely apologizing for what he did and that he'll try his hardest to grow from the situation in the future, also donating a little over $1,000 to the Rain Foundation with screenshot evidence as a way to show people he wants to atone for what he did. Cameron would also launch up a live stream interviewing Anne, in which she would say a lot of stuff, like how she started sending fan emails to Alex when she was 9 years old after watching Markiplier play the game on his YouTube channel.
I was just sending him fan emails when I was 9 because I was watching a lot of Markiplier playing Yandere Simulator. It wasn't anything creepy or weird.
She would say it was just fan art and nothing more, and that she stopped a month into it after getting bored. She would go on to say that he wasn't grooming her at all despite what the public is trying to say and defend him on that, and then say that it was her who copyright struck the video and not Alex, meaning that Ally was either lying in a Reddit post from earlier, or Anne lied to Ally into the viewers on the stream.
Yes, I did copyright strike the video because they were my recordings that I took, so I have full legal right to do that.
She would then clarify the one screenshot where it looked like she sent images to him and clarify it was her abs and nothing nude at all, meaning that she thankfully didn't send any indecent images to him.
No. I believe that they're referring to a specific screenshot where I sent him a picture of my abs. That was just working out stuff.
They would discuss the details like whether if Alex is a creep or not in their opinions as the viewers watched, with Anne again pointing out that in her opinion he was weird, but he had no bad intentions in speaking together.
Proof of doing what if not being predatory? Genuine question. That is a great question.
Proof of him being weird, proof of him being inappropriate, but being predatory comes with intentions, and he had no bad intentions.
She would continue to defend him and point out that while yes, he would respond to her inappropriately, she was the one starting the conversations and he was just trying to keep things going. And then when asked if she can post all the evidence backing up her claims of Ally's video being edited out of context and asking her to delete it, this is what she had to say.
Can you possibly release any and all evidence that you have that can back up what you are saying if majority of what the video is edited, clipped, etc.?
Okay, I'm so sorry for this, and this is about to show my super bad priorities, but I deleted all of the original things when I asked Allie to delete her video because I just expected it all to be over and done with, and I needed to make some storage for Minecraft to run smoother with mods.
Someone would ask about the inconsistency involving the video getting struck, and Anne would give her take on it.
You claim you striked Allie's video from what I heard, but Allie claims you came forward and said you didn't strike it yourself. I'm very confused. Are one of you lying?
Oh, I would love to see where I came forward about that, because no, it was absolutely me. I struck those videos. Actually, I found out that there were rumors saying that I struck those videos on Reddit. And, like, I hadn't even checked to see if the strike went through at that point. But everyone was saying, Alex did it, and he did not do it.
Anne would then state that she's still in his Discord server despite all this going down, and that their conversations only revolve around him banning people harassing her due to the situation.
Well, I'm in his server, and I have DM'd him with things like people harassing me, so that he can ban them for harassing me, but that's the extent of my conversations with him right now.
They would talk some more for a minute. Cameron would mention that Anne messaged him through an account called Yandere Dev's Victim and cleared things up after the initial TikTok comments. And Anne would notably respond to a question that it took her some effort to get Alex to respond a certain way when attention whoring, which is very interesting to hear.
Like, it took some effort to get him to respond the way I wanted to when I was attention whoring.
She would go on to say that when she called Alex a master manipulator in the Snapchat messages, it was just her joking around with him, and talk about how people are disrespecting her by spreading the news around despite her wishes, pointing out that she's a minor.
Oh, that was a joke. That was /S. I pinky promise.
What was?
Calling him a master manipulator. Well, I mean, good for them. Good for them spreading my business without my consent. I just love disrespecting a minor's consent.
Anne would mention where she lives. The two would repeat themselves a lot for the new people joining the stream going over stuff we've seen already. Clarify again she wanted to stop the video on her own accord and not because Alex told her to. and things would end off with nothing else of importance being said. The main thing that stuck with me from this stream was the part where Anne admitted to being the one who copyright struck Allie's video down, as she would go on to say in the comments on 2 other videos talking about the situation that it was actually Cameron who did it. However, I first wanted to clear things up with Ally about why she said it was Alex who struck her, and this is what she had to say. Like, why were you under the impression it was Alex, I guess?
Because even before the interview, I was not personally in contact with her at the time, but we were both in contact with a third party who became involved with this situation, and she had disclosed to that person before the interview even happened that she didn't want the copyright strike. She didn't file it.
I then went to ask Cameron directly what's up with the inconsistency, in which she would refrain from commenting but did give me one thing to look through, saying that he did a lot to protect her and that they're still in contact, notably saying that he's not sure why she's not being entirely truthful with people and that he did what she wanted him to do because he was worried for her safety, which basically implies that he was the one who copyright struck the video only because she wanted it to. I realized this was a very peculiar situation as someone here is being unintentionally dishonest or downright lying, so I decided to keep digging around to see what I could find. Now this is where things get weird, because when looking into Anne, I found a lot of very strange stuff about her. Some of that stuff includes posts from her on 4chan saying that she's 18 years old, but on her Reddit account where she suspiciously referred to herself in the third person before she slipped up as seen on screen, she implies that it's people impersonating her on the website, which sounds really outlandish, as why would someone want to impersonate her of all people on the internet unless she has some deeper lore going on? There's a lot of miscellaneous stuff out there, like her bedroom being a mess for example, but perhaps the most interesting thing I found was this image right here. An image that is a set of rules by Anne on how to run a honeypot operation on somebody online. She since said on that Reddit account that this was just a really crude joke made between her and her friends, but given all this flip-flopping going on around, that's when I started to realize this story has things running much deeper than I ever could have thought, so I kept digging and digging to try and figure out the truth here. Now I can show you all the stuff I found out about Anne while researching through countless websites and such, but then I was really thinking to myself, even if I showed you, the conclusion still stays the same. Whether Anne is 18 or 16, Alex was talking to what he thought was a 16-year-old, and given EDP was in the same exact situation as him with bigger age gaps mind you, there's no way to defend this man. Alex has made his bed and now has to sleep in it, and while Anne has gone through and done a lot on the internet from what I've gathered, all I can say is I really hope someone in her life guides her in the right direction before she does something very regrettable, because it's clear from what I've seen behind the scenes that kind of guidance has been lacking in both her online and personal life. There's also clearly more going on directly behind the scenes between Anne and the people connected to the story, and given how volatile and flip-floppy the situation has been, it's probably going to be a while before I get any definite answers instead of a bunch of wishy-washy lies and illusions. Cameron has since made a post on his Twitter account basically saying he'll finish up the current obligations he has with the video game and see where things go from there. And Alex has since made another blog post that can be summed up as him taking a break from the game and thinking about what to do in the future. As far as everybody else goes behind the scenes, I have no idea what's going to happen there because as seen earlier in this video, you and I have seen and been told a bunch of contradictory information, so the amount of lies I have to dig through is getting to mind-numbingly frustrating levels and leading me nowhere currently. I have a feeling that some of these lies will eventually get exposed sooner or later, and more interestingly, I feel some more stuff about Anne will come out too, because something about her feels so off and I can't quite put my finger on it just yet. Until then, we just gotta wait and see what the future holds, and as far as that goes, it looks like Yandere Simulator might never actually be finished now.